every trick in the book, from hollow nuclear threats to continued warmongering, spooked at Pakistan is trying its best. While it's no shocker and the elected government of the country has also taken a backseat following the drubbing in May, it's the military that is calling the shots. A prime example being Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir's second visit to the US in 1 month, a first in decades for Pakistan. But that's not the worry for us. It is Pakistan's internal problem. However, what's rather contentious is Washington's renewed stance. Not only does it seem like Trump has given a clean sheet to the very sponsor who continues to harbor terror in his backyard, but has also lauded the apparent success in its sustained fight against terror. While no one can really explain Trump's change of heart vis-a-vis India and Pakistan, one can't help but think if it's the Nobel Prize dreams behind this sudden U-turn. On top of that, from snubbing Trump's repeated mediation claims to not be willing to concede on the trade deal front, India is giving him a tough time. Maybe it's true to an extent that Pakistan has played the Trump card better than us, but India's long-term stand cannot be held hostage to these short-term games. Given the situation though, what can India do next? What will be its next steps? We'll decode that with our guest joining us in just a bit. But first up, here's what the joint statement released by US and Pakistan said. It said that the United States applauds Pakistan's efforts in containing terror groups. The US also condoles the loss of lives to terror in Pakistan and condemned the Jafar Express attack and bombing of a school bus in Pakistan. The statement further read that both countries are committed to counter-terrorism in US forums and that both sides stress the need for continued partnership. The joint statement comes against the backdrop of Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir's big nuke escalation, and that too from US soil. The United States, however, seems to have turned a complete blind eye to this. Remember, Munir had claimed that Pakistan is a nuclear nation and if it does go down, it will take half the world down with it. This in closed-door meetings on US soil. When CNN News 18 questioned the US State Department spokesperson about these remarks, she just said that they've taken note of the alleged remarks. Even though Munir's statements were threats, not just against India, but virtually the entire region and the entire world, United States' response was just that they are aware of these reports and that the government of Pakistan must be questioned regarding the same. So the question is, does peacemaking president, does he not care about these statements? The porters who make statements on everything under the sun can't comment on what happens on US soil, even though he claims to stop nuclear wars and his best friend is threatening one? That brings us to the big question we're asking today. Pakistan has played its trump card. What can be India's next step? Our experts are joining us in just a bit.
Are the top leaders in this nation involved in stopping that potential catastrophe? I would say that our relationship with both nations is as it has been, which is good.
मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ आज दुश्मन को कि अगर तुम हमारा पानी बंद करने की धमकी देते हो तो ये बात ज़हन में रखना कि पाकिस्तान की एक बूंद भी तुम पाकिस्तान से छीन नहीं सकते।
इस मुल्क के अवाम में इतना ताकत है कि जंग की सूरत हो तो जंग में भी हम इनका मुकाबला कर सकते हैं और जो आपके 6 के 6 दरिया है वो वापस हासिल भी कर सकते हैं।
Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, is joining us. With us also Shalini Chawla, Distinguished Fellow, Center for Air Power Studies, and Manik Mjoli, Major Manik Jolly, defense expert, will be with us in just a bit. But Shalini Chawla, let me begin with you. A lot of us have been wondering, where do we go from this? Given the turn that US has taken, not sure if the ceasefire in Russia-Ukraine will completely reverse the situation if it happens. Not sure if in trade deal negotiations, if they were to be successful, will completely negate the situation. Let's say both of those things don't happen. How should India approach this situation?
Yeah, thank you. It's a brilliant question and a brilliant hypothetical scenario, So, yes, it's right, as you said in the introduction, that Pakistan has rather played its trump cards very well. So it's taken a very step-by-step approach. March, they handed over Sharifullah. April, suddenly rare minerals were found there, which I don't know where they were when Pakistan was on a verge of economic default.
Yeah.
And it has gone to the IMF 25 times. So then the minerals did not exist, but suddenly they are in the picture, and US seems to believe it. So that's the other irony of that. And then what we see that in April end, the Pakistan Crypto Council signed a letter of intent with World Liberty Financial, which is a decentralized financial platform with the Trump family having a stake in that. So obviously there is a very systematic step-by-step approach which Pakistan has taken to revive its relationship with the United States. And it's really jumping and dancing on that whole issue that they have managed to revive. But to my mind, these are all very, very short-term steps which Pakistan has taken.
Okay.
They will need to really prove themselves in this whole process. So that is one. That how long this bonhomie lasts, we don't know. On the other issue which you have raised about what India needs to do, first is that we don't need to be rattled about this whole thing. We are a much larger country, growing at a much faster pace. IMF forecast says that we are the fastest major economies in the world, which it has projected the growth for the next 2 years. We have a very unique combination of political stability, economic growth, youth power. So we don't need to be rattled, and there is no comparison between Pakistan and us for sure.
Okay.
What we need to do, irrespective, is obviously, this whole challenge with the United States and their relationship with China. How do we deal with this kind of a emerging Pakistan, position? Obviously, our economic might need to be kept on, because economic power speaks in today's world, and it has always done. Our military build-up, as our air chief keeps on emphasizing on, the build-up needs to be more emphasized. And then I think the other two aspects which I feel are very important here is that we really need to recalibrate our external messaging. I think that is one area where India needs to really work. We need to refine our narrative on terrorism, because that is one part which I felt that was a lapse, and that was one of the lessons which India, I think, has picked up from Operation Sindoor.
Can I ask you, very interestingly you say this, because after Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor, we made all the efforts, even went beyond what we have ever done before to send out that message. And I also feel like if I bring in that Russia element to this discussion, that Russian oil buying, which has come back to quote unquote haunt us, or at least the US is using it as a tactic. On the Russian oil buying also, our external messaging was on point. But if the world is not willing to listen, if they are either pretending to be ignorant, or they're saying, okay, we don't care what your reasoning was, which we bought before Trump came to power and he turned sour, we don't care about it. We bought your argument on terror, but we don't care about it anymore. How much of messaging can India do?
No, I think there is always scope for refinement. There is scope, narrative building, definitely there is a much larger scope that India has, which we can refine. Our quick responses could be much quicker in that domain. That is something I definitely believe, and maybe a more institutionalized effort that we need to do here.
So is there an example that you want to cite on this, what we did on Operation Sindoor and what we should have done?
See, it's a bad example, but then, if you see Pakistan's narrative building, which is the country survives on narrative building. ISPR, they have a very, very, institutionalized version, which is just doing that part. So I'm not saying that is something which is leading to overall success of Pakistan, but definitely it kind of they wanted to drive that message across, and they went on. Yes, we will counter those. We will come out. Ultimately, the truth always surface. But then the point is that some part, that is the part that Pakistan's narrative of victory, it did drive very, very aggressively. Other part which I feel is that, interest-based or issue-based coalitions, maybe we can just take up more aggressively in the region specifically. And that regional integrity front, I think India can do much more. Obviously, Ambassador Sajjan will contribute much more on that.
Yes.
He's the lead
voice. Interestingly, you talk about India's messaging and narrative and how it is difficult to undercut the friendships, quote unquote, that US and Pakistan military have over the last few decades because of US involvement in AFPAC. Major Jolly and I had done a conversation on this on Plain Speak podcast on why our narrative fails while Pakistan's narrative seemingly succeeds. So I'll go to him on that in just a bit. But Ashok Sajjanhar, what the US Department has also said is that if these ceasefire talks with Russia fail, then secondary tariffs on countries like India, China anyways, they've made a stopgap arrangement for them. I don't know what happens with them. But let's say on India could go up. So it could go up from the 25% right now, and the overall tariffs could go up above 50%. We can't have this situation. Or can we? Do you think the only approach India has is that we just bide our time and let things sort out for themselves?
Thank you very much for having me, Shivani, on this your program, and I compliment you on your introductory comments. I think they bring out the issue very well. And,
Thank you.
I agree also with what Shalini has mentioned, and we could discuss about the narrative thing. The only comment there I would make is on the narrative issue is that, narratives can never defeat reality, and whatever has happened as far as Mr. Trump is concerned, his change in position, Shalini would remember very well, and I'm sure Shivani, you and your listeners viewers would also remember very well. On the 1st of January 2018, the sort of tweet that Trump had given out, saying that we have given $33 billion to Pakistan, and all they have been feeding us is lies and deceit, and they've been giving safe havens, and it is not going to continue. They cannot forget what has happened from 2001 till 2021. When thousands, I think more than 6,000 people, Shalini might have the correct number, of US troops were killed in Afghanistan, all because Pakistan was supporting Taliban. Taliban was they had been provided safe haven. So it is, terrorism has been emanating from Pakistan. It has not stopped. I think it is very transient, momentary sort of partnership that has been brought in for a variety of reasons, whether it is minerals, whether it is the question of this crypto council thing, the utility, because Pakistan, what has it to offer? It has to offer its geostrategic location, because it could provide access to Afghanistan through Pakistan. Right now, the use that it comes to the United States is to get access to Iran, because United States is still waiting that, it might need air bases in Pakistan to strike at Iran, or it might need to use Pakistani airspace.
But for that, Trump didn't need to escalate the relationship with Pakistan. The problem is not that they're maintaining their relationship with Pakistan. The problem is that today, Ashok Sajjanhar, they're promoting Pakistan above India and using Pakistan as almost a needling instrument to provoke India. That, okay, you better come to me and you grovel to me, or I am going to grow closer and closer to your enemy, Pakistan. It almost comes across like that.
Yeah, you are very right. I think it is something personal. It is not something that is issue-based. And I think the personal thing also is something that you referred to, which is that Mr. Trump appears to be particularly piqued at the fact that India has, nipped his effort of the Nobel Peace Prize in the bud. It is Pakistan that has been going to town that we are going to support. Trump has helped us in mediating a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Otherwise, things could have been very bad.
So
And
what
we
does India
nominate
do
for
from
the-
here? Just lay low?
Okay, yeah, I'm coming to that now. Okay, so number one is, as far as your internal strengths are concerned, you sort of, get deep into it, whether it is military, whether it is economic, whether it is political, whether it is diplomatic. Secondly, and economically, it is, of course, very important. Shalini has said fourth largest economy, getting on to be third largest, but focus on that basically. The second is, as far as getting on to your geostrategic partnerships. Prime Minister is now going to Tianjin. I don't know if under normal circumstances also he would have gone to China, but definitely under the present circumstances, that must have contributed greatly that he's going to the SCO. Let me put a marker here that, as far as our relations with China are concerned, normalized, stabilized, but, all this talk of RIC, Russia, India, China, if the United States is doing something, we go into the embrace of China, that should not happen, that will not happen, because China is, eyeing 93,000 square kilometers of our territory.
Yes.
It has been sort of, looking at our border, it has been helping through the 4-day war, it helped Pakistan. The other is in terms of our strategic partnerships with other countries, particularly in the economic and security domain. We have done with the United Kingdom, we have signed an UK-India FTA. I think that's a very good FTA for, it's a win-win proposition for both. We should do the same as far as EU is concerned. And the last word, Shivani, what I'll say here is, as far as the India-EU partnership is concerned, India-US partnership is concerned, it's a very important relationship. Because of what Trump is doing as a result of his personal pique and his personal, fact that he is cheesed off by what India has done, and India is doing things absolutely correctly. I don't think we should be throwing away this relationship because of what Trump has done or is doing. I think we need to salvage on technology, on defense, on so many other areas. We need to salvage that relationship to the maximum extent possible. And I think behaving in a mature manner as we are doing, that is what we should continue to do.
Major Jolly, a lot of people have contended that we've not played Trump well. We have not played this entire post-Op Sindoor scenario well. That has seen US drift away from us, even if they are being immature or unreasonable on certain grounds. Look what we have come to today, which is that Pakistan is once again being emboldened by US to the extent that Asim Munir makes the statements he makes amidst the dignitaries in US, and nothing really happens, despite this president claiming that he doesn't like any nuclear talk, right? Nobody actually even talked about nuclear weapons when the Operation Sindoor was going on, and he was so spooked, and he claims that's why he stopped this conflict. When somebody sits, a general sits in his country and talks about nuclear threats openly, casually, he does nothing. So where did we go wrong?
Yeah, firstly, thanks, Shivani. Very interesting debate, and both the speakers before me said all right. I totally agree on a lot of things. But what I'd like to add is that, there are some things that countries do. And then there are some things that individual leaders do. In case of Trump, this is the case. We have to go through this. I mean, let's say it's in typical military language. I'll say that this is artillery firing. All you have to do is hunker down, sit down in your bunker and let it pass. That is all it is. What Trump got his election, what he won was on that time the greatest peacemaker here, and I'll bring peace to the world. He failed in Middle East, he failed in Russia, Ukraine, and he failed in India, Pakistan. So he's trying to, gather whatever he can. And there are three, variables on which American foreign policy works. One is arms industry. Second is anti-Russia. In this scenario I'm talking about. And third was trying to control India-Pakistan. In this case, he tried to take all the claim on India-Pakistan, whereas India denied. That he did not go well with him. Could not. It is a very unique situation where two countries are fighting, Russia and Ukraine, and US is now friends with neither of them. Now what he's trying to tell Zelensky is, I don't like you, but I have to continually support you because of the NATO commitment. But Russia, Trump is trying to bring to terms, it cannot do anything militarily because they are good enough to actually reply. So it's going after economy, and oil trade, which is happening through India, is a main backbone of their economy right now. So in two ways, for two things, the US is trying to. No chief of other country can come on US soil and make statements like this, that we will take half the world down. In your headline also, you use the right term. This is pressure tactics. What US is indirectly trying to tell is that Pakistan has US's back, and whatever they do, they have our full approval. So just remember this. They're very childish, to be, honest. Geopolitics doesn't work like that. In few months, it will come to terms. I think India is doing perfectly okay. We have always done better when we have stood our ground. And Pakistan is in present state because it has behaved like that stray dog which the Supreme Courts want to put away. Right? So what we are trying to do is, whether it was nuclear test, whether it was fight against terror, whether it was making the call, we are friends with Iran. We are also friends with Israel. We are friends with Russia. We are friends with Ukraine because we did our, senior diplomats like Mr. Ashok have managed that, and it's achievement, and that is why this is the time to just stand our ground. Trump will see the light of the day in a while when Pakistan shows its true colors, to be honest, because what I feel is it has given Pakistan so much leeway that even if it wants to get away from it, Pakistan will not let it go. That is the kind of blackmail Pakistan has survived for decades and decades with US. The bonding started forming in 70s, 80s when Pakistan had so much deployment of US Army and bureaucracy there. So those bonds exist, no doubt. India does not have that kind of leverage in DC the way Pakistan has. But again, we have stood our ground always, and we've done better that way. So this is what I really want to praise MEA and PM and the entire ministry. Whatever critics can say, whatever, but this is the right way to go ahead. And by standing true to our trade, that is oil, specifically in Russia, we not only show the world that we are big enough to take our own decision, we don't get bullied. It is also doing a lot of economic favor to our own economy. So in external and internal, these are the right decisions to take. And as Op Sindoor showed, we have never bothered about the nuclear blackmail that comes from Pakistan. Because to be honest, Pakistan does not have even the key to the door that locks the nuclear arsenal. It is fully controlled by US. They have their teams there. Pakistan cannot do anything about it. And so India can actually sail through this very comfortably without panicking too much.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I do thank all of our experts for joining us. Remember, a lot of it is hinging now on the Russia-Ukraine ceasefire or peace deals. But it's crazy that the US is using that as a leverage on India specifically. They claim they will use it against China too, but they have given China more time than India, and only Donald Trump can perhaps justify the stance that he's taking right now. The rest of the world is just watching in shock, I do thank our experts for joining us. Moving on, the debate over stray dogs in the backdrop of the Supreme Court's knee-jerk decision is raging on. A new bench of the SC heard the matter, challenging the October 11 order today. As concerns over rising dog attacks grow louder, so do voices calling for compassion and legal protection. Tonight, we break down what transpired in the court today and if there is light at the end of the tunnel. Is there a middle ground in this emotionally charged and complex issue? First up, here's what happened in the courtroom today. SG Tushar Mehta, who was arguing on behalf of the government, said that sterilization does not stop rabies. Even if the dogs are immunized, that would not stop them from mutilating children. He went on to say that 37 lakh dog bites happen every year, which is an average of about 10,000 dog bites a day. Nobody is saying kill dogs, but they need to be separated, he meant, from the civilian population. But advocate Kapil Sibal, who is arguing on behalf of animal rights groups, said that there are these ABC rules. There is a parliamentary legislation that has to be complied with. What has the MCD done over the last few years is a question he asked. Have they built shelter homes? He also went on to say that since the MCD did not do the sterilization as mandated by law, that is why the dog numbers have increased. Finally, Justice Nath, who was part of this three-justice bench, said this is happening because of the inaction of the municipal corporation. The government does nothing. He said local authorities are not doing what they should be doing. They should be here taking responsibility. In fact, he went on to say that everyone who has come here to file an intervention should take responsibility. Even as we await the order with bated breath, here's the thing, many cities in India, I'm not even quoting international examples because not all of them can be complied with or applied in Indian context, but there are examples internationally and in India, several cities have managed to effectively deal with the issue of dog attacks, and these cities can do it. Why can't a similar program be implemented in the national capital? Jaipur, for one, is often cited as a model city for ABC implementation. The city achieved near zero rabies cases through sustained sterilization and anti-rabies vaccination drives. The program was supported by NGOs and followed WHO guidelines, with sterilized dogs returning to their original territory so that new unsterilized dogs don't move in. Goa's ABC ARV program has been praised for its community engagement and scientific approach. The state saw a significant drop in dog bite incidents and rabies cases after the implementation. The program emphasized on in situ management, which means dogs were treated and returned to their familiar environments. In Visakhapatnam, the Visakha SPCA sterilized over 8,000 dogs a year. Focusing on cruelty-free methods, the ABC program helped stabilize the stray dog population and reduce aggression and disease spread. And the Blue Cross of Hyderabad implemented a robust ABC ARV program as well, creating rabies-free zones and puppy-free zones in areas with strong community support. Their success was attributed to consistent sterilization, vaccination, and public education. So with this stray order being challenged, will the SC rethink, will it consider the appeals that it has been flooded with? Our guests are joining us in just a bit.
सरकार से यही सवाल किया कि आपके पास नियम है, ऑलरेडी हमने गाइडलाइंस फ्रेम कर चुके हैं, लेकिन आपकी अथॉरिटीज ने उनको इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया है.
That is the problem. It's a genuine problem. Dog bites, snake bites, those are genuine issues.
सभी वैसा लायक नहीं है, जो है नॉर्मल उसे तो रहने दीजिए.
कॉर्पोरेशन की जिम्मेदारी है शेल्टर होम्स बनाने की, वही नहीं हो पा रही है पुख्ता तरीके से, तो उनको कह देना शेल्टर होम्स में डाल दीजिए. ये तो उन लोगों के साथ मैं मानती हूँ गुनाह होगा.
First up, I want to go across to former India cricket captain and dog lover Kapil Dev, who himself does a lot to take care of stray dogs. Sir, you've made an appeal after the Supreme Court order. What would you like to say to those who are supporting this order? They feel that this order is in the right interest of the public because of the rise in dog attack cases.
Well, look, technically I don't know, and mine is only request to everybody. I don't say it should be done this way or that way. You know, these are the animals who live with us for thousands of years, and it is our duty to look after them. The God have given us the brain, and we can much more sensible to look after them, not try to throw them in a place where they don't know what they are doing in life. So my job is only to all the authorities, people who understand, people who are more intelligent, and the judges and the lawyers, don't take a hasty step. Yes, sure, what need of the hour require, must do that. But I would say, please have little bit love for them and rest. They are more intelligent, they are more sensible, and that's what I would say.
You run a shelter home yourself for stray dogs. You take care of many of them. Would you appeal also to the public that they can also come forward and maybe do more like you do, like several individuals do?
Like, you know, they can't speak. Basically, you have to look after them. And if they come to this world, we are nobody to take their life. And one bad dog doesn't determine the outcome of everybody. No. One bad man doesn't mean you kill all the man. One bad person who drinks and make a noise, that doesn't mean you want to finish that. Yes, you want to make a law for the betterment, and it's our duty to take care of these animals. It can be dogs, cats, cows. When I see the cows on the road, I feel sorry. I said they should be in the proper place. And I want to see the dogs also in the proper place, rather than putting them in a place where we don't know what will happen to them tomorrow. I think it's a long planning you have to do for them. It's not overnight something you give the order and that will be get over with that. No, they need love. They need passion from you to love them. And if you carry the biscuit in your hand, no dog will love you. They only more scared of you rather than you are scared of the dogs.
Any appeal to the Supreme Court? Some appeals have been heard. The order is reserved. We don't know exactly what, but any appeal that you would want to make to the SC?
No, I'm not so intelligent to tell the judges what to do. No, I think they are smart, they are intelligent, and that's why they are there to look after the country. So I would just say my passion towards the animals are there, and I hope they understand other people's passion also. But I can't tell them, do this. No, they are sensible, they are intelligent. Let's hope the authorities and the government take the right decision to look after everybody.
Speaking of the authorities, do you think they are the ones that should be pulled up? Because ultimately the laws existed, the rules existed, but they didn't do their job. Should they be held accountable?
Well, again, I'm not trying to put a finger on anybody. We may be late, but tomorrow can be a better day to plan. You don't take decision, you plan over the period of time in next 3 months to 6 months. This is what we want to do. That's all. In cricket also, we say your net practice, your planning is more important to win the big tournament. And same thing, if you want to take a decision just like overnight, it may backfire. So take your time, say next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year time, we want to do something this for animals. I think that will be wonderful. I see the cows on the road and I see the dogs and, you know, so many animals on the road. It's our duty to look after them. And if anybody have a passion, like I have a passion, I try to look after in my own small ways to look after the dogs and cats. I love it. I don't want to push anybody to do that. No, it's your passion.
All right, I'll leave it at that. Kapil Dev, thanks a lot for joining us and hopefully appeals like this will be heard by the Supreme Court and others so that a more reasonable order can be given. Let's also go across to our guest joining us. Ambika Shukla is an animal rights activist. Sumit Nakwal, advocate, is also with us. And I'm also joined by Varnika Singh, who's lawyer for Federation of Indian Animal Protection Organizations, lawyer who was also part of the hearing that took place earlier today. Ambika Shukla, I want to begin with you because, you know, we've heard the arguments that have been made in court. A lot of people are very angry with quote-unquote animal lovers like yourself. They feel animal lovers have also been responsible, stray dog feeders have also been responsible in not ensuring that what they do also complies with ABC rules, you know, community feeding, spots, etc. Do you think it's time that maybe the community also comes together and says, okay, we may not have done some things right, but we are also here to make it better?
You know, I think a lot of people are unaware of the work that animal people do, because most of this work is done unsung, it goes unrecorded, unnoticed, and nobody is looking for rewards or recognition. But I will tell you one thing, that the ABC program and the successes that have been achieved by the ABC program, we have brought down rabies from a one-time high of 20,000 to just 54 cases within the span of a few years. And this has been done primarily by animal caregivers. It is animal caregivers who are driving the ABC program, who are getting dogs sterilized and vaccinated in every gully, kuchi of this city, of NCR and the country. And it is being done through fierce resistance. When you talk about feeding points, every animal person has asked repeatedly their RWAs to please designate feeding points. It is RWAs who will not give feeding points within the society. They will not look at territorial areas as per what the law says. They will not do anything. I will tell you something, that if there are bites, and if people are complaining about bites, please let us point out, if you do not follow the rules, if you do not comply with the law, how can you then be surprised when there are bites? Had you followed the law, had you given feeding points in the territorial areas of dogs and allowed feeders to look after those dogs, you would not have had any bites.
But
So
the
you resist
reality
the
also
bites,
is,
you
Ambika ji,
resist
the
the work of
reality
feeders.
also is that only animal lovers or NGOs cannot take on the mammoth situation that we have on hands. The government, the municipality also has to do, because what is happening now in the arguments that I am getting, for example, is that why don't you take them to your home? Why don't animal lovers do better? You know, this is your headache, your problem. So actually people have absolved the MCD and the government of any responsibility because animal lovers want to take it on themselves, but they cannot.
Let me just point out one thing. You have an excellent plan here, right? The ABC is a WHO program that has been proven worldwide. Wherever it has been implemented, it has been successful and shown excellent results. So nobody is questioning the program. The program works. What is lacking is the implementation. Now, why is the implementation lacking? Because when you hand it over to an agency, this agency firstly does not know the subject, it does not care about the subject, it has no expertise, it has no interest. That program is bound to be a failure. If I give a school to run to somebody who hates children or somebody who has no interest in children, will that school run properly? No. You have to find people who care about the subject that they are dealing with. This is what we call domain expertise and interest. Now, animal people are interested in the subject. We know the subject well. We care. Nobody is doing it for rewards. Nobody cares about the monies involved. What is the failing with the municipality? They see only the monies involved, which are siphoned off. So they see it as an easy place to make money because nobody cares and there's no accountability. What do animal people see it differently? They see it as precious resources to be used as best as possible for the maximum good of the maximum animals and therefore of the maximum society. So I say, and this is a serious proposition, you take an excellent program, give it to excellent implementers, and you will see the difference. Nobody is asking for more money, nobody is asking for more resources. But if you put animal welfare community into a equal role with the municipality as co-workers, where there is equal responsibility, equal authority, equal planning, equal everything, where there is an actual institutional role for the animal welfare community, you will see the difference. Within 1 year, I can assure you that we will have 100% sterilization in the NCR area if you give it to the animal community to actually execute with the resources and the authority.
Sumit Nagpal, the criticism or the outrage we see after the Supreme Court order, I think it is fundamentally happening because the order was seen as very ill-temperate. It was seen as impractical and almost signing like a death warrant for the dogs. I don't think anybody, even animal lovers, want to make the case that there isn't a problem or that we don't want stray-free streets as much as possible. But the order, the manner in which it was given, completely disregarding previous orders and law, I think that has angered people more. Do you think the Supreme Court made the right call to try and re-listen to more reasoned voices today?
I can tell you one thing, that when it comes to such issues where public sentiment is involved, the so very much aware that what is the public sentiment, and when we see that there was so much anger on the streets, it was decided that there has to be a relook. But having said that, I must tell you that this is a problem which has to be looked into and something has to be done. what is good about the Supreme Court order is that this particular issue has come on the forefront. It was being ignored for a very, very long time. And I can tell you that as a person who goes to streets of Delhi every day, at night, very rarely I'll find a street where there will be no dog. One. Secondly, if I am passing by, it is very rare that no dog will be following me or barking at my car. So this is a problem. This is a menace which has to be looked into, and the population of the dogs has to be controlled. So I would say that it is a very nice thing to say that whatever the activists say, that something has to be done, the law has to be followed, you have to follow the book. But on reality, on the ground, it is very, I would say people are surprised to see dogs everywhere. They are barking, and it is a very difficult thing. Ask the delivery boys. Ask the delivery boys from Zomato, Swiggy. The dogs continuously following them if they are delivering at night. So it's a big problem for bikers. It's a big problem for the people who are traveling alone at night in a street. When you see like a group of 5-7 dogs, they will start barking at you. And I would say that I know a little bit about psychology of the dogs, that if they see someone who is weaker in their thinking, they try to attack. If they are in a group, they try to attack. But if you have a stronger presence, then they tend to go back. And I have experienced it myself, that if you stop your car, they will stop chasing you. If you stop your bike, they will stop chasing you. This is my experience I'm sharing. I don't know whether I'm right, but this is what I have seen. So Supreme Court has, I would say, they have taken up this issue. Something needs to be done. People are facing problems because of the stray dogs. And if the sentiment of the people is honored by the Supreme Court, I would say now the matter has gone to a larger bench. Something needs to be done, and the animal rights activists have to also accept that if the Supreme Court is doing something, some kind of cooperation is required from the side of public as well.
Okay. Varnika Singh was actually part of that hearing representing certain bodies. The Supreme Court already kind of shifted this matter from the bench that gave that August 11 order to a larger bench and a different bench. Do you think that already is an indication that there is a sense or a realization that possibly what happened with that order was incorrect and they want to relook into it?
After today's hearing and after forming this 3-judge bench, I do think that realization is there, because the 2-judge bench order of 11th August, it was like it has not been said that the ABC rules should be followed. It is totally different. That has never happened, and you just see the hue and cry, the way the country has been affected after that. So I think there is sense of some reality that has gotten into.
You know, today in the court hearing, there were a lot of noises against animal lovers, quote unquote. The SG Tushar Mehta even went on to say that those who are crying for stray dogs, they are meat eaters or meat lovers themselves. What do you make of that argument?
Actually this matter has nothing to do with what a human is consuming. It's not about eating veg or non-veg, it is about dogs. So from where does this argument come from? It's really unable to understand, because we are talking about community dogs, that the issue is due to the population of community dogs, there is danger of rabies, there is danger of human bites, and there is danger. But why that danger is there? Because the law has not been enforced. The animal birth control rules of 2023, for which we have been working for the past 10 years on the street dog case, which was there earlier also in Supreme Court, and it was disposed of. So imagine if in these 10 years, if the ABC had been implemented, the situation would have been so different. So this argument, is just to divert the main issue. People are eating chicken or not. Dogs are like pets. Dogs are like families. People, those who are feeding community dogs, they are really attached to them. So there is no question of eating chicken or not eating chicken. It doesn't come here. This question doesn't even adjust.
The Supreme Court did accept that it is the authorities who are not doing their job, and that is why we have come to this pass. But Varnika, I do have to ask you, the situation is what it is. Humans' lives are at risk, particularly young children. So according to you, since you are fighting on behalf of animal rights organizations, you tell me, how can we strike a balance? The point of view that you would be willing to take to court and accept.
So this is a very relevant question. First of all, to strike the balance, we have a scientific law that says sterilize and vaccinate community dogs or street dogs. Okay, even the WHO report says the best way to control the population of dogs is through sterilization and vaccination. Killing them or putting them in shelters is not the solution. It will only increase the problem. If you remove all the community dogs, you will see it had happened long year back in Surat. Community dogs were removed and there were rodents all over the Surat and a plague took place. And then, the rabies issue is not only of dogs. Other animals also have rabies. So that comes from there also. So now coming to the balance, it is really unfortunate that such incidents happen. And we of course we do not support that a human life is gone, and we also get deeply affected by it. And I will also say that when a such incident happens to a family, actually they only know what has happened.
Yes.
That is very true. But having said that, like when we say that all men are not rapists, everyone is not a criminal. Similarly, this dog situation is a situation that has been created by humans itself. We are not enforcing the laws, and after, when a situation has gotten out of control, putting them in shelters will make this issue more worse. Once all the dogs are removed, then the dogs from the adjacent areas like Ghaziabad or somewhere else, they will start coming. So how many dogs you are going to catch? Where are the shelters? Then for shelters you need land, and then you need manpower, you need to feed them, you need to clean the space. Do you think that it will be humanly possible for the municipalities to do that? This is not the solution. So I think to create a balance, follow the scientific steps, bring up the data. The government do not have official data on and there no survey has been done on the dog population in the country. Every news says a different figure. And then there is no data of animal bites. If you check the data in hospitals, you will see there is no segregation. If there is an animal bite, whether it is from a monkey or a community dog or a pet dog, there is no segregation. Also, there are no vaccines in the hospital. So we need to stabilize this situation, and slowly the population of community dogs can be tackled. But this way it will only be worsen.
Yeah, and actually putting animals in close proximity and in almost cage-like situations, that is not good, because that leads to more diseases itself. But Ambika ji, would you concede that maybe part of the problem can be solved with shelters? That okay, if the Supreme Court was to give directives and some time to municipalities, not all 8 lakh, 10 lakh, I don't know how many dogs, because Varnika is right, we don't have a census for the last 10 years or so, or if not more. But some of those can be housed in good shelters, large shelters, that can be part of the solution.
I don't think there's any such thing as a good shelter. It's like saying in a good jail. Healthy dogs need their freedom. We are on the eve of our Independence Day. We fought long and valiantly for our own freedom. Would we deprive another species of it? Dogs, healthy dogs, do not belong in a shelter. A shelter is for sick and injured animals, and they are there like it's a hospice. They recover, they heal, they get well, and they are released to wherever. Dogs find safe spaces on the street on their own. They have an instinct to do that. They will find a safe space. They will forage for food. If they are lucky enough to find a feeder, they will get regular food. They will be sterilized, they will be vaccinated, so there will be no more dogs. And the existing population simply lives out its natural life healthily and harmlessly. This is the program. Why would we deprive any dogs of their freedom? We don't need to. The idea that human safety and animal safety is a competitive concern is completely false. Human safety and animal safety go hand in hand. When you are kind to animals, we do not chase them with sticks, you do not threaten them, you do not beat them, you do not relocate them. Those dogs will never harm you.
Okay.
It is only when animals are provoked and hurt and harmed and frightened that they become fearful and can react. Shown kindness, they are completely loving and loyal. We have them guiding the blind, finding the lost, protecting our homes and families, fighting on our fronts, sniffing out bombs for the police. We have them in every sphere of life. We have known them forever. It is not like they are some new species.
No, absolutely.
They've not come from anywhere.
There is also a case to be made.
They belong in India and they belong on our streets. They've always been there. This is not some new phenomenon. People saying, oh, you find dogs everywhere. We've always had dogs everywhere, and we have much less now because of the ABC program. You look around South Delhi, there are no dogs on the streets. Very, very rarely do you see any dogs at all.
Let's not forget that humans are also encroaching on spaces that originally belonged to all of these animals. So it is our duty also to make sure that we can be compassionate to them. This land does belong to everyone on it. I run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Let's see what happens as far as the SC order is concerned. It could come very well next week. But thanks a lot for watching Plain Speak from CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
दुनिया को लगता है This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Where in the wake of the Renuka-Swamy murder case and after the Supreme Court cancelled his bail, the big news that's coming in is that actor Darshan has been now arrested. He's been taken into custody after the Supreme Court cancelled his bail. That is the big piece of news that's coming in. After the Supreme Court dealt that massive blow to actor Darshan, he has now been arrested in the wake of the Supreme Court cancelling his bail. Remember, he was on his way from Tamil Nadu to Bengaluru, and we had accessed those visuals of him moving from Tamil Nadu to Bengaluru after his bail was cancelled. And now the big order that's coming in after the Supreme Court cancelling his bail, Darshan has now been taken into custody in the Renuka-Swamy murder case. I'm joined by my colleague Harish on the broadcast to get more details. So Harish, finally the actor has been arrested after the Supreme Court's big verdict cancelling his bail.
Yes, just moments ago, the Kamakhipalia police have arrested Darshan from his wife's apartment in Hoskerali in Bengaluru South. Even as we speak, the arrest formalities are currently on, and Darshan will be produced before a court later on in the day perhaps. But this is the big news coming in. We had shown visuals of Darshan's car crossing the toll plaza at Chamrajnagar, and he had perhaps travelled to a place in Tamil Nadu, after which around noon he set off headed back to Bengaluru, and just a while ago, roughly around 4 o'clock is when he's been formally arrested from his wife's apartment in Hoskerali. The clear-cut verdict from the top brass to the police was very clear that implement the Supreme Court order as soon as possible. 4 people were already arrested, including Pavitra Gowda, the prime accused in this case. Darshan was the big fish here, and he's now been arrested moments ago. And perhaps in a short while from now, all the 7 who've been arrested after their bail cancellation will be produced before the magistrate.
Right. And Harish, as per the previous reports that were coming in, he was in Tamil Nadu and he was wearing a mask. The police asked him to remove his mask, and after which he was identified, and then he was making his way from Tamil Nadu to Bengaluru. Does it seem that there was an attempt to evade the authorities?
No, that seems to be just a travel that's happened in the morning to a fair. That is, remember, he was in Chamrajnagar earlier in the day. And that is a border area, and if you cross the Chamrajnagar border, you land in Tamil Nadu. And he had gone for a cow fair or a horse fair. There is the information that came in. And because he was moving around with a face mask, the police asked him to remove it there, and they figured out his identity. But more importantly, he had informed his lawyers that he would surrender before the police. and the police had started tracking all the numbers of all these 7 accused whose bail was cancelled. And we do understand that around 2 o'clock, the police have had one round of conversation where he told the police that he would be appearing before them and he would surrender. And after which they had increased security and also had sent a team to his wife's apartment anticipating him to turn up there. And although initially 2 cars that we have shown in the CCTV footage did turn up at his house, in both those cars, Darshan was missing. We understand that he reached the apartment in a different car from the back gate. And as soon as he reached this apartment on the 15th floor in this upscale apartment in South Bangalore, he was taken into custody. Currently, the arrest procedure on. And in a short while from now, you will see those visuals of the police jeep carrying Darshan out of this Prestige Southridge apartment and perhaps taking him to the court, and then he will be sent to the jail. Now the question is, would they immediately send him to the Ballari jail? That's where he was lodged before he got a bail, or would the police or the court send him to the Parappanagarara prison? Remember, that's where he was seen having a gala time, having smoking inside the jail, getting a morning tea, chatting and talking to other inmates there, and that had triggered a huge controversy. Would the state still risk sending him there, or would they send him to Ballari jail? That's where he was lodged after the controversy. That's something that we'll have to see. But there is a bit of a logistical and technical issue, because once the court here in Bengaluru starts framing of charges, all these accused have to appear before the judge. And traveling from Bengaluru to Ballari to Bengaluru would be a logistical nightmare for the police. So would they lodge him in any nearby districts, neighboring districts of Bengaluru? That's something that perhaps will become clear as the day progresses.
Right, and Harish, at the same time, as you were pointing out, the optics surrounding this entire case put a huge question mark on the state administration. As you were pointing out, the VIP treatment he got in jail, his foreign travels where he was just enjoying life. In the wake of this, brutal murder case which involved abduction, torture and then death, the optics also put a huge question mark on the intent of the state administration.
Yes, one, the intent of the state administration was questioned. Second, the bail itself was questioned, because remember, let's all recollect that initially he walked out of the prison claiming that he was having a back issue, he needed medical treatment. A few weeks later, he managed to get a regular bail. But the scenes that one witnessed after that was completely opposite to what Darshan and his counsel told the court. He said he had a back issue. He skipped appearances multiple times. And in one such case, he was seen at a film event just the very next day. He did not go to the court saying that he had a back issue. The next day, he's at a film event. Then in the last few months, Ayushman, we've seen him having a gala time in Phuket, finishing the shooting of his next movie, Devil, and perhaps completing the dubbing of that as well. And that had triggered a lot of anger among people, saying, how is it that somebody who was involved in such a brutal murder not just managed to walk out of jail with a bail? He had also given wrong reasons. How did the court accept it? One, the state had a grouse that the Karnataka High Court, which was hearing the bail application, started talking about the merits of the case and the kind of evidence that was gathered. The state felt that would have an adverse effect on the trial court's decision in that particular case. Remember, the trial court is still hearing this case. So, but eventually it's the Supreme Court which has not just expressed its displeasure about the kind of VIP treatment that he's got inside the jail, but also had some very stern and harsh words to say in the way the Karnataka High Court gave the bail and the grounds on which they gave bail.
Absolutely. And talking about the Supreme Court's scathing observation, the Supreme Court strongly criticized the High Court's bail order, saying it appeared more like a final verdict than a temporary relief. The bench also raised concerns on whether the High Court follows a similar approach in other bail matters. The top court also strongly emphasized that no VIP treatment will be tolerated regardless of the celebrity status, saying all accused must be treated equally under the law. And on that note, I'm joined by Ananya Bhatnagar on the broadcast. So Ananya, when it comes to the modalities of the High Court bail that was granted to Darshan, the Supreme Court completely tearing into that order.
Well, that is exactly scathing, but we've just accessed the order copy as far as the Darshan's case is concerned, and there is a lot that has been stated by the Supreme Court. In fact, going on to say that influence, resources, and social status cannot be a firm basis for granting bail. Where
CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome. We are coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric's Smart Home Solutions, and it's time for the Right Stand. Well, let's set it up, viewers, in some time. The much-awaited meeting is scheduled to take place, and this will be late on Friday night, early Saturday morning. We're just counting down to it, and it's the big meeting. Now, if there is peace that's called, if there is a deal that's reached there, then perhaps this entire tariff tantrum with Bharat may come down, ease down a bit. If not, then we've got to be ready for perhaps for a little more of an offense, as we've got from the Treasury Secretary of the US the indications that Trump would be a little more belligerent against Bharat. Now, during this Alaska summit, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will hold talks over ending the war in Ukraine. And this is perhaps top of the agenda for Donald Trump, because that's what he believes will get him the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, Donald Trump has again warned of severe consequences if Putin doesn't commit to ending the war. And if there is no deal in Alaska, and Bharat continues to assert itself with respect to its own interests and strategic autonomy, and continues to engage with oil purchases with Russia and direct trade with Russia, there will be an impact, a rollover effect. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has espoused hope. He has very clearly come out and said, Platform X, after talking to the UK PM Starmer, he said on the guarantees that can make peace truly durable if the United States succeeds in pressing Russia to stop the killings and engage in genuine substantive diplomacy. But there is a land swap that Trump has repeatedly hinted about.